Hello, welcome to Cherie's Weight Loss Journey. I hope that you are feeling well. I'm feeling pretty good. Today is Sunday, the 5th. We're on our way for, we gotta go get that bag. So, I had a pretty rough night last night. I'm telling you, it seems like every time I go to work, right? I always feel like, I done caught a bug or there was some spell casting done when I leave work. I don't like that feeling. Okay? And y'all wouldn't like it if I do it to you. So I don't know why y'all be doing it. Okay? Cause if I didn't care about my seat being on my throne, you could best believe I would have done damage. Okay? I would do damage in the unconscious and the consciousness. Okay? Yes. You don't know who I am. A lot of you are giving grace because we understand that, you're new to the spiritual realm, to the magic, and all of that stuff, and that, you're going to make mistakes. But if you don't learn from your mistakes, and you turn around here thinking that you're somebody that you're not, you're going to put yourself in a bad predicament. Okay? And you won't have anybody to blame but yourself. Okay? All right. Today, instead of, bringing a salad, I prepared some breakfast, eggs and sausage. And that looks like that looks like everything I'll be eating today is eggs and sausage, right? Because I got 2 boiled eggs. Oh, I did bring a cup of beans, right? So today, my emphasis was to try to eat more protein, okay? Because I don't like feeling weak. And I had been feeling weak, eating the salad. Even though I felt full, I felt weak. I'm still a big body and I need plenty of energy. Especially when, I have a lot of activity. Trying to figure out how I can wear this damn headband, because I need the headband, to absorb the sweat, the perspiration. Okay. I hate the fact that the clothes that I have on, it doesn't have any pockets. I hate that. I'm like, who are these people that make these clothes with no pockets? Okay? So then I had to layer some items with some apparel with pockets. It's an inconvenience, but I wanted to wear what I got on, so that's the way it is. That is the way it is. It's 67 degrees out here today. Warmer than yesterday for sure. Yesterday we were in the 50s. We still have this overcast. I have a few sprinkles on my windshield. So, yeah. I don't feel like taking the freeway today, so I'm going another way. I woke up this morning and, I was listening to this woman who considers herself to be a spiritualist. I had watched one of her videos earlier today, right? She changed her name from the Nephilim to Spiritual Court. Okay? So, she was talking about her guides and ancestors and yay, right? Well, this is not what I mean when I brought up the Bible verse, John 14, verses 15 through 18. I brought up that what you will meet is not an entity outside of yourself. It will be your personal guardian, which is your higher self, right? That's the entity that you will get into union with. That's why you can tell the ones that have it wrong, the ones that are actually, doing, forms of necromancy. They choose to do it. It's their choice. They got free will, right? However, they will come across as if, they have achieved their gifts, through the occult, right? And not necessarily through esoteric enlightenment. Okay? So I was watching her, and she was holding she had a video where she was stating that yes, Eve, is a product of incest by Adam, right? For Adam to do what he did, to something that came out of his rib was definitely incest. Okay? I don't know how you can work around it. I don't care if it came from your rib. I don't care if it came from your DNA. That's still part of your bloodline. It's a form of incest. Right? Okay. So then she was saying how, there are children who who are part of the original bloodline. I've said this before. Who were actually Eve was actually a product of both Lilith and Adam. They had other children, for whatever reason, weren't mentioned. But, we see throughout the Bible that people have the tendency not to mention, all of their kids, right? Who was that? The shepherd, of one of the sons that was tending to the sheep and the herds, was left out of being considered as part of the family. And then come to find out that this person actually, became known. Was it David? I want to say David. Anyway, because I'm not sure, just get the gist of the story, right? So they had left him out of even consideration. And come to find out he was chosen. All right. But she was talking about that. I read that, immediately, when I had picked up the Bible, I was like, what the hell? Right? What the hell? Because in my mind, it's like, this doesn't make no sense. It makes weird sense, right? Very weird sense. And my conclusion was, either the Bible is not the real Bible, or it's been altered. And because of either one of those situations, to me, it's not a holy book. Now, as far as being, a manual, a human manual, it could be a human manual, right? And that's how I see, the Bible as being, a manual for, human beings, because of the distortion, right? That they claim they did because there was a problem in interpretation, right? Okay. Which goes back into, what do you call it? Overgeneralizing definitions and biased interpretations. Right? And just like the 12 tribes of the Bible, right? These were 12 different communities that had to be spoke to in a different way, and also had different kinds of challenges than, one from the other, on how they were living their lives, right? And a lot of that was based off of, their environment, and, cultural differences. So it's not always, consecutive, but it's not always consistent from one prophet to the next prophet. Okay? So just like when, we're putting on our eyebrows or makeup or shaving our face, right? For men. Even though we will see up close that, we're not completely asymmetric from one side to the other side. However, we'll try to treat whatever procedure that we're doing equitably so that each side at least appears to be the same. That can even go as far as, even your haircut. Certain people don't have completely perfectly shaped skulls, and their hair don't grow the same in all areas of their skull. So you have to make adjustments so that it appears to be equal, or unless you're going for the Gumby look. Which, Gumby was totally like asymmetrical, okay? Even though, of course, I feel like I'm fighting off a cold. Every time I go to this warehouse, it's like they have it so hot in there and they have so many people going through there, and they don't, supply. They should continue to supply the same kind of, sanitation care as they did during COVID. They really should. But they're not doing that. Now, they'll have stations and stuff where, you can have alcohol to, cleanse your hands, right? But, you don't get to wipe down your station. The heat and the poor circulation, even though they've replaced the fans, there's still poor circulation, can spread germs pretty easily. I can hear myself kind of nasally, and I did go to sleep last night with an upset stomach, right? So my thing is even if they do it, well, they should do it both in the winter and the summer, because people sweat during the summer for sure, and then during the winter time, people sweat, but it's because it's so warm in there that they don't really feel like it's a problem. But they're actually, containing whatever germs, come in there pretty good. part of me is like, whoa, should I wear a mask on the days that I have to go to work? And I'm like, ugh, maybe I should. But me, I have a hard time breathing in mask. And then that heat, it just comes up to my eyes, and then I have problems. It just feels like the heat just bothers me from even being able to see. My body's already hot. It is. It just, it just... And I don't like being cold. So if I ever get cold, it takes my body a long time to heat back up. So once my body gets heated up, then I like to maintain it as being warm. If you stand near me, you will feel my heat. I'm serious. It's so weird how I was thinking about body heat, right? And how when I was younger, they used to say that the body temperature of people of color is a lot warmer than, say, those of non-color. And then that men were boasting that because the body heat of women of non-color, that they were able to keep an erection longer. And I was like, well, that's on you, okay? Right? So I don't know why that thought had returned back to my memory, but it did, and I talked about it. So there. Now on to something else. Oh yeah, getting back to the woman that, was holding what she calls spiritual court, right? She claims that she has authority, to dispense judgment on people, right? But she's really a vigilante. And I know you're asking me, but why would you say she's a vigilante? Well, this is a person that has practiced voodoo since she was 16 years old. Okay? And before her desires of converting towards becoming a person that utilizes her gifts for good, right? She basically used it for her own benefit, right? And she felt like, she earned that privilege because, she studied the dark arts. But she decided to change that up. I believe it was last year. Last year she decided to change up and to become, a form of a judge. Now, during Caesar's time, right? During Caesar's time, they had claim that Libra was the sign of balance, and then they would be, conditioned to be in a position of judges. So during Caesar's time, all of the judges had to be of the sign of Libra. A little tidbit of history. But again, the Christ consciousness is a person that says, we don't fight against the flesh, but we fight against, corrupt principalities and injustices and injustices. Okay. Getting back to this woman, right? So I love the fact that, she was, telling a harsh truth about, the book of Genesis, right? And she was, cautioning, females from attacking other females. And then stated that the reason why other females would attack other females is because, they were part of the Eve tribe, the ones that, were born through incest, which, I agree that there is truth to that, right? But I also want to add that the reason why women will attack other women is, they have been imprinted with the misogyny of the patriarchy. Okay? When you have that imprintation, what you're doing is you're trying to gain favor of an oppressive force. I personally, I don't quite blame you if you don't know, but if you know, then it's like, when you know that the patriarchy is doing wrong, but you justify wrong behavior, for whatever reason, right? It's not wrong behavior if, you're defending yourself, right? However, that should only come after, all efforts to negotiate has been exhausted. But most of the misogynist people, they operate out of paranoia, right? They're always thinking in a negative sense about other people. They have a negative dialogue that's always running in the background. That, somebody's trying to mistreat them, that somebody's trying to get over on them, or, a lack mindset that, if they don't just take or steal or, do what they feel like they need to do, they will never have another opportunity like that. And we all have those types of feelings at times. At some particular time, at least once in our lifetime, we have had the test, whether it's money or whether it's in love or whether it's, anything, whether it's, bullying somebody that's weaker than you, you feel like, well, this will be, the once in a lifetime opportunity to lord over someone. Okay, that's just an example. Okay, but so I was like, oh, maybe I can start watching her again. Maybe she's actually, ascended, to another level. So anyway, I wake up about 2 o'clock in the morning. And what I wake up to was she was doing a live. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she's on my algorithm and she's doing a live, right? So I'm listening to her and it starts out, with a whole bunch of shout outs. And I'm like, that's interesting. However, it sounded like she said the first card that she pulled was the Empress, right? And I'm like, she caught my attention, right? And so she's kind of describing this spiritual battle that, a particular Empress was having. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. The Empress, she can handle it. She's magical for sure, right? But then she started getting into racial talk. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait 1 minute here. Because to me, when you start talking racial talk, in my book, racial talk is a book of division and hate. It just is. Right? And even if you're saying that you're seeing that this is going on in the world, you have to temper yourself to realize that this is something that you're just, describing or viewing, as, an observer, right? But the way that she was talking about it, she was doing this on purpose to her audience, to arouse, rage in her audience. And I was a little bit disgusted with her about that. I'm like, wait a minute, if you're doing this, on behalf of, the Empress that you say is having to battle this, and the Empress is totally equipped, to manage the kingdom. But then you got this going on in the background, and it's cloaked, utilizing dark, negative motivations. That is not what the Empress wants, right? What Empress wants? Chaos in her kingdom. I don't know any of them that would. So of course, I had to totally disconnect myself from her again. Every time I watch her, I always have to watch her with my energy fields up, right? A barrier of energy protecting me from some of the rhetoric and the hatred and the negativity that she'll spew out without notice, right? She doesn't lead you up into it. She will integrate it so fast into her words that if you're not a conscientious or about articulation, if you're not conscientious about articulation, you won't know how to withdraw and step back and say, well, wait a minute, okay? Because these are the type of people that will use the words, and then you're riding on the waves of their words, and then all of a sudden they'll interject subliminals. Right? Because, like I said, when I step back and I'm like, okay, the Empress is equipped, to handle the kingdom. The Empress also knows, whose job it is to protect the kingdom. So then when you have these vigilantes out here claiming that, they have a job or they've assigned themselves, certain duties themselves, feeling as if they're called to do it, and then say that, they're assisting the Empress. I'm like, wait a minute, that's interesting. Now granted, we do have, what do you call it? I guess it would be like a bylaw where, a citizen can make a citizen's arrest, right? However, it's very specific on how people can do it, right? Just like there are rules, bylaws, even when it comes to protecting, say, your family, or, killing somebody in self-defense, and you have to go through a trial to figure out, did you indeed, do the appropriate thing? Because, getting back to the book of Jeremiah, where it states that, the heart is deceitful. Okay? Once the heart, gets into the deceitful system, there's just a lot of debauchery and connivery and destruction, which, is stated in the book of Mark. So there are very interesting, guidance, that you can retrieve the Bible. However, the manipulation occurred because they were changing the Bible so that it met the agenda where men wanted a hierarchy over women, right? And there's proof that they want this hierarchy over women when they destroyed the goddess temples, right? However, they created their own churches, and for a long time, it's not mentioned in history that women weren't even allowed to go inside of these, these temples that these men, or churches that these men had created for themselves. So they had gotten rid of the goddess temples, they got rid of the goddess library, and they created, their own exclusive temple and churches for men. Eventually they started letting women kind of go in there, but when they let women go in there, it was always under the understanding that they were never to go inside of these churches or temples as equals. Thus, they came up with, implementing the law that, there should never be any women who are administrators or preachers or, yeah. And then they make sure, if men don't know anything out of the Bible, they at least know that, there's a hierarchy, and that hierarchy is, God, Christ, man, and then women and children. They have the tendency to want to lump women in the same category as children, right? So now the big debate is, okay, granted, you're lumping the women and children together, but men are not concerned about the welfare of the women and children. They're not. Most of them, they don't have no idea, about developmental stages of children. They have no idea of the empathy required to deal with each child as an individual, so they kind of want to make it seem like it's similar to like the military, right? And yes, there was a time that a lot of boys was sent to military school from the time that they were, young boys. And, they don't have too very many of those anymore because obviously it's been proven not to be healthy. It was not something that, they felt, should continue. Because, that's the whole thing about when it comes to natural selection, right? In natural selection, we strive, to acquire, enhancements, to make ourselves, survive better on the world. And we drop the things that don't serve us. Even the orphanages of yesteryear and had not served the way that they had hoped it would, as a result of either not having parents or or parents that had died for whatever reason, or were unable to take care of their children. And we know that they had existed, right? Our generation knows that they had existed, through the media. A person that was involved with several movies in regards to the orphanage was Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple was an advocate, for people that had to grow up in orphanages. And she definitely made light of it by through her song and dance. But there was always a moral to the story. Of each film. Let me see. I haven't came this way in a while, so I wasn't sure if they had, actually completed the construction that they had started on this road. And so far, it looks like they have not. No, they have not. So I'm glad I took a back street instead. I don't know why they haven't made, completing this road a priority. I think it's the location. Truly, it should be a priority because number one, it's really not that far from a community college that's located up on top of the hill here. I've noticed that even SO, the spiritual SO, right? He will also utilize spiritual techniques, and after listening to him for a while, he will also then begin, the racial rhetoric. And I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist, right? But my mind tells me, calling people racist or telling them, that they're evil, is not the best way, to gain cooperation. And so if you listen to it for about 10 minutes, right, you sort of feel like that they're not really looking for cooperation, right? However, how I see America as the gene pool melting pot. This is probably one of the only nations in the world where you can have such diversity and the freedom, meaning that the cultural stigmas have been removed, and you're able to marry outside of your culture and these traditions. And as a matter of fact, I also see the planet Earth in the same macro concept, that planet Earth is a planet where other beings from other planets can incarnate here and have the freedom to experience life outside of their own, habitat, culture, so forth. If that makes any sense. So I don't understand why any particular race feels as if the universe would ever justify any race just taking over the planet. I personally don't see it. And I also feel like it would lead to, definitely an intervention on a universal scale. I think I can squeeze this little car right in here. That truck took more than its allotted space. So there you have it. I feel like the video was very informative. It touched on a lot of different subjects. But that's how my mind works. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes thinking like this can make me, want to pamper myself with special treats. And, which, had caused my food addiction. Okay? I'll be back.